Alright, hi guys, welcome back to the Outer Worlds. Let's see, it's time to get the final party member in our party and see if there's any more quests around this city or town or whatever before we head out. Max will go back to the ship until I need him for those. Those seem like to be people who are very religious. I want to see how his reaction is with them.
Ah, the charmer. Welcome back. Drink, chat, or business? All of the above?
I got your magic pills.
More or less dangerous than a steady supply of alcohol. Give it here. Whew, that hits the spot. Right in the, oh, no, there it is. There it is. Yes. We're in business. Let's go. Great. Where to? Oh, Hiram? I ain't checked in on that man in an age. He's running the giant radio tower we lovingly call Devil's Peak. We'll be going south and west, mostly along the road till we're past Fallbrook. Out there's a western slope that'll lead us through some fun. You like hunting, right? That's fun. If you're more of a spelunker, Rotting River will take you into the mountain caverns. We can discuss options when we get closer. That said, 3's already a crowd. I don't mind waiting somewhere until you got a spot open.
As long as you've got my back, I'll have yours. Welcome to the Unreliable Crew.
Oh, I still have nightmares about this one. Fiercest, most foul creature I've ever faced. Just shy of 7 feet tall, breath like a sulfur pool. A little slow, as strong as a mountain. If I recall, his name was George, Gregory, I don't know. Some G name. He and a band of pirates tried to ambush me and mine on the trail once.
Wait, you're talking about a person?
Yeah, poor guy. I think my bullets did his face a favor.
Hey, you shut up.
No, you should.
You shut up.
No, you should.
You shut up. Cheese bread, cheese bread, cheese bread. I thought you just said that. I thought you said they had.
I do got the cheese bread. I'm not ordering no.
Oh. You lucky your mom's not here to hear that.
Find out how much it is. You're not telling me how much it is.
Hey, no germ spreading. Yes. Black stuff steals, sneak. Will look better on you. That look better on you, and that's also ugly. There you go. Probably need to go buff that up for you. If I have the money. Everybody's just looking at me.
Well, well. Isn't often we see new folk in Stellar Bay. First drink's on me, stranger. Enjoy. If you're keeping Nyoka company, you'll need a few to keep up with her.
Ain't a person on this planet who can keep up with me. Wait, we are talking about a drinking contest, right?
Now what can I do for you? Anyone who spends any amount of time in this bar is bound to get to know Nyoka. On account of her being here so often herself.
Hey, you ought to be paying me. Without me livening up the place, y'all would be wallowing in the misery that is your sad corporate lives.
I don't mean that unkindly, Nyoka. Anyone who's rid us of as many beasts as you have is entitled to a few drinks. Something else I can do for you? Not since Amber Heights. These days we have more leaving than coming. Off to join the Iconoclasts or some such. Bunch of marauders broke into the executive compound, slaughtered everyone. Corporations pulled out of Monarch not long after. I thought everyone knew. But then that was 10 years ago. Still feels fresh to us every time we look at our walls, though.
Hey, look up, say, how good's their pasta?
Thought it had a fancy ring to it. Name's the first advertising anyone sees, after all. Nope. But a man can dream.
See, I can get rid of them being drunk. Nope, I got no junk. What, the cheese stuff? That's mean.
You're probably looking for Velma. Watch out. She's in a mood.
Hey, Velma, I got your caffeinoid pills.
You're a lifesaver. Hope Abigail didn't give you a hard time.
Just the usual. Any word on Braxton?
Nothing. Don't know how much longer I can cover for him either. Give me those pills, will you?
Here you go. You know, you might consider a real night's sleep instead.
Look, you can tell Catherine the new shipment will be ready when it's ready, all right? She's welcome to come up here and pack boxes herself if she's in such a hurry. Well, if you're that friendly about it, then you definitely aren't one of Catherine's sublight toughs. My mistake. Hope you can forgive my temper. This job has been running me ragged lately. First, my autoloader foreman stages a walkout, and now my chief pescatological health manager is missing.
Your chief what?
Braxton. He's in charge of getting the fish fat, but also making sure they don't get too many tumors. He's a real wizard with pharmaceuticals, but he has creative notions of working hours. Comes with living in a free colony, I guess. I would if I weren't busy here picking up his slack. Since you don't seem to be constrained yourself, maybe you could check up on him. He lives in the apartments. Tell him Velma said to get his lazy ass down here, or she might start noticing those extra drugs he's been taking from supply. Something else on your mind? Sublight boss out of Fallbrook. Handles most goods that come in or out of Stellar Bay. Has a mouth like a Ground Six spacer. Caleb Herrick. Runs the autoloader operators. He thinks I don't pay them enough for flipping switches and turning dials. He and his whole crew walked out. Say they won't come back unless I pay them more. Because we've got a budget, all right? And in case you haven't noticed, MSI doesn't exactly have a lot of spare bits on hand. You mind slapping him around a little while you're at it? I'm joking. Mostly. Unless you can do it without hurting his job performance. If you can find a way to get him back to work, I'll make it worth your while. Check the yacht club. He's usually there. Unless you're here to tell me he's agreed to do his job again, I've got nothing to say. I don't have the bits for it, plain and simple. Besides, if I make an exception for him, I gotta do the same for everyone. Hard workers? They turn dials and flip switches. The machines do all the actual work. Caleb and his crew have it better than anyone else around here, I'll tell you that much. If Caleb wants to keep this job, he'd better get back to it. I'm about ready to hire sublight contractors at this rate. For running me ragged while he takes an extended leave at the bar? Not on your life. Maybe so, but I bet you Caleb runs out of bits first. Then he'll have to come back. He says he's got a stash to tide his crew over. Could be he's all talk, but if the money's real, I bet you he keeps it at home. Near the diner.
Ooh, I'm evil just like you. I wanna
Fine
do
by
that.
me. Stealing's such a nasty word. Let's call it skimming. And yeah, let's just say I've noticed the sterile biotics we use for the fish would get used a little faster on Braxton's shifts. We're not like those corporate towns where you get fined for sleeping on the wrong side of the bed. Besides, the Spacer's Choice stuff we use is cheap enough. And Braxton knows how to get the Saltuna, fat and mostly tumor-free.
Okay, I'll steal that crap for you. Let's go to his apartment.
I hear those rich people in Byzantium pay a handsome bit for Rap Musk.
Bet they also pay to make it.
Help! Someone's been killed! I think I'm gonna be sick. No! I just stepped in a dead man's blood. And I think one of the flies landed on my mouth. If you're going into the apartments, do not go into the lower one on the right. That's where the body is. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go contemplate a hot shower.
Well, damn.
Murder? Hey, is this the part where we go hunting for clues?
Even Stellar Bay ain't safe these days. What's the world coming to?
Man, mess with this shit for sure. And they probably wonder he's been stuck in there for days.
Whatever you do, don't mention Tossball to Isaac. You'll never hear the end of it.
You know, I haven't seen him in a while.
He's dead.
If you'd gotten stuck in an hour-long rant about mostly colonists, you'd be thankful.
You startled me. Don't sneak up on a person like that, huh? Braxton. I've never even heard of a Braxton. Got nothing for you, sorry. Oh, in that case, he told me he was delivering to this house in the ruins south of town. Whole family had fallen sick and he had some meds on hand. So maybe look for him there?
I'll be straight with you. Folk who disappear in the wilderness generally aren't able to come back. Don't get your hopes up.
Oh, jumpy and stuff, that's what she did. Oh, thank you.
You trying to get us all in trouble?
Whoops.
What do you think you're doing? Nice doing business with you.
I didn't mean to do that. I was looking around. Oh, this must be one of the landlords.
Good day to you.
Whoa, by the stars, my poor heart. I just about pissed my jumpsuit. Most people don't.
We're used to folks swooning at our feet. You don't gotta be embarrassed.
A healthy survival reflex is nothing to be embarrassed about. Besides, this place is enough to try anyone's nerves. Where should I begin? With the oversized mantisaurs? Or perhaps the rap spewing acid at our walls? The board was right. This place isn't fit for human habitation, and I was a fool for staying. Sanjar, of course. He had all these glorious ideas about how he'd run Monarch. Rest periods between every work shift. No shift more than 10 hours long.
You company folk are all the same. Choose to stay, then complain about the choice you've made.
How was I supposed to know it'd turn out like this?
You know,
It all sounds wonderful, until you realize it's only a few centimeters of repurposed steel between you and the deadliest creatures in the galaxy. I could do with a few kilometers of cold vacuum, but that spaceship is flown. Only every day. But in case you haven't noticed, we don't exactly get ships on a regular basis, yours notwithstanding. And even if I did scrape together enough to buy passage out with sublight, which would mean reaching Fallbrook without getting eaten, shot, or dissolved into green goop, what then? Nothing, that's what. Because MSI is not in what you'd call good standing with the board. So even if I could get out of here, no one's gonna hire me. Even talking about it has my blood pressure up. I've really gotta stop. Lucky you.
Let's see.
Let's take a look inside.
Oh well. Enough remote. Okay, where the workshop at? So I can fix her first stuff. You shut up. Crap. Who my girl got in her? She has the light machine gun. It's choice. And that sucker. Shut up. I think you need to shut the heck up. There you go, dude. That fits better. Anything else before we head out?
Could I get another advance, Mr. Nandi?
Just make sure it's properly logged.
I'll note it next to the others, sir.
Well, new business turns up at last. Celia, didn't I tell you our new statistics-based advertising model would be a hit?
That you did, sir.
How can yield improvements of 26.7% not quicken the pulse? How can 32% cost savings not moisten the loins?
You've often posed these very questions.
Clear my schedule. This newcomer has a meeting with me. Celia, will you make a note of that for my self-review? Very generous.
Noted.
But not so generous I can't drive a good bargain. Now, who sent you? Rizzo's, perhaps? Or Auntie Cleo herself? What a charming notion. One doesn't meet many free spirits in Halcyon. Not outside Tartarus prison, anyway. Forgive me, I'd be positively enraptured. Only, I take it this means you aren't here for Saltuna. Now, there's no need to humor me. I'm used to this particular letdown. I had hoped that livening up our advertisements with enticing figures would draw the other corporations back to our bosom, but it seems we're back to the drawing board.
Because he's scared to go it alone. You need the board to hold your hand and tell you everything's gonna be okay. Ain't that right?
Surviving alone isn't as easy as it looks. Thanks to the so-called hazard clause, Monarch has been cut off from the board's resources and protection for 10 years now.
So-called is right. We've got our hazards, but we're still here, damn it. The board took off without so much as a thought for the folks left behind.
That's the board's way. Doesn't matter if you're Monarch or the Groundbreaker. If the board can't control you, they'll find a way to punish you.
Now, we've kept ourselves in business by trading with individual corporations, but given the off-the-books nature of those transactions, such arrangements are precarious. Yes, freedom is a tempting ideal, but a rather costly paramour.
True.
Can't imagine why you'd sneer at the notion of a free colony. Could it be because you're an agent of the establishment?
Monarch's a free planet, Felix. It's also fucked. I ain't a fan of the folks on the board, but if they could be wrangled to rebuild our roads, I'd welcome the help.
Your friend makes a good point, young man. I used to be young and idealistic too, but you can't run a city on high-minded ideals.
True.
Indeed. Mr. Nandi here has a rather ingenious plan to get MSI restored to the board.
On our terms, mind you.
A lot of good that'll do. They'll just find another reason to turn tail and abandon you.
Not if we secure the proper safeguards first.
And if our advertising scheme hasn't borne fruit, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands.
It's true, our Celia is an alarmingly competent middle manager. At any other company, she'd be wasted in data entry. The plan she refers to is a two-pronged approach, and the first part involves seeing Stellar Bay properly defended. With a Bolt 52 cartridge, of course. If you can get us what we need to rejoin the board, starting the Bolt 52, we'll be able to become one of the most productive and secure cities in Halcyon.
And you'll have a powerful ally on the board.
Why, one of the strongest defenses in Halcyon. An extremely powerful ordnance.
I was starting to get bored listening to you, until you said the phrase, extremely powerful ordnance.
It is quite the rush. I'll need to gather some supplemental materials, but I mustn't get ahead of myself.
You do tend to do that.
The Bolt 52 will be in the old arms building southwest of town, which used to be part of Stellar Bay before we had to move our walls in. And these days, it's overrun with marauders and raptidons. Do be careful. I've lost more than a few people to marauders and raptidons out there. Oh, and while you're at it, there should be a terminal in the arms building with some dangerous information. Perhaps you could delete it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. What can I do for you? Hiram? Why, he's probably still out at Devil's Peak. Not that he's had the courtesy to notify me, at any rate. You'd head south along the road and look for a mountain to the west. Not that I'd advise it. It's a terribly dangerous trek. But I see you've met Nyoka. Anyone can get you there safely, it's her.
He just wants me out of his bar.
Then it's good that I keep such meticulous notes. I've asked myself the same thing many times, especially seeing as the legal mechanisms we employed were part of the board's own bylaws. It's true, the board has treated us unfairly, but I'd always envisioned that things could be different. For many years, this planet was home to as many corporations as Terra 2. But back then, it was known as Terra 1. As you may have noticed, this planet has more than its share of hazards.
That ain't fair. They didn't leave on account of the hazards. They left on account of their cowardice. The hazards just gave them a reason to put to paper.
Sharp as ever, Nyoka. And as the other corporations began to tally their losses, they decided to pull out.
Did anyone know the difference between the remastered and that one? Is it just like HD upgrade or whatever and not gameplay ways?
MSI's leadership at the time certainly thought so, but there were others of us who saw an opportunity. The chance to improve working hours and conditions, to reform MSI from the ground up. It's humane, but it's also good business sense. Exhausted, sick, and malnourished workers are not productive workers. Even a cursory review of the data bears that out. Anyway, we learned of a loophole in the corporate bylaws that would allow MSI to claim ownership of the entire planet once the other corporations pulled out, creating the perfect environment for us to enact these new reforms. That's what I thought. But the senior executives laughed in our faces and insisted we'd be relocating to Terra 2 along with everyone else.
You gave them a finger.
In a manner of speaking, many of us stayed behind, in an act of quiet but firm defiance. As the most senior executive remaining, I ended up in charge of what was left of MSI. I moved forward with our planned reforms, as well as our strategy to assume ownership of the planet. Yet not long after I renamed it Monarch, the other corporations dislodged us from the board and began an official campaign to paint us as lawless savages. I don't think I realized how far they'd stoop. Everything we did was legal and above board. We followed their rules, and yet they still found reasons to declare us outlaws.
Your first mistake was expecting the board to cut you a fair deal.
I understand the sentiment, but if we can't rely on some sort of framework, then what do we have? I do think there's something useful in a governing body like the board. Something that keeps us from anarchy, but I dearly wish it functioned differently.
It's straight bullshit is what it is. A fabrication rich folks use to preserve their investments, by leaving a lot of people here to die slow.
Nyoka has the right of it. It's a legal provision that gives the board the authority to cordon off any planet or location that it deems dangerous.
Sounds like the board gave themselves the power to arrest an entire planet.
They would say it's for the greater good. Yes, making all of MSI criminals in the board's eyes. Rather hard to run a business that way. Why wouldn't anyone? They own nearly all the resources and infrastructure in Halcyon.
Yeah, and once you go back to him, he'll own your dignity too.
Yeah, that'd go a long way toward rebuilding our homes.
To be on the board is to be part of the colonial community, and being cut off means slow strangulation. Indeed, we've got to consider realities, not ideals. If membership on the board can ease our hardships and provide us with opportunities, then that's the path I mean to pursue. Besides, I'm hopeful that additional leverage on our part will allow us a more equitable relationship. I've discovered it's much easier to negotiate from a position of power. And I don't mean to leave MSI or its people at a disadvantage. My hope is to maintain the reforms we've managed here, and who knows? Perhaps once we're restored, we could spread them to other corporations. What can I do for you? I see. And was his delivery of the MSI authorized greeting up to snuff? Well, that's excellent. I'll see that your feedback makes it into his review. What else can I do for you?
Hey, mother. What? What thinks the dude?
You know, Nyoka, between you and me, we know all there is to know about Monarch.
What makes you say that?
Well, you got your life experience as a hunter, and I've memorized every episode of Terror on Monarch.
Oh, Terror on Monarch's a riot. It's all made up, though. You know that, right?
Yeah, right. Next you're gonna... Tell me Halcyon and Helen weren't based...
Phyllis, I'm taking you off of that, out of that.
...on a real person.
I won't tell you that, no. You see... I'm happier in your ignorance.
Told you. Okay, what are we doing first? Should I just keep looking around? Okay, last side quest is here. Okay, we might as well go sneak around that dude's house. But I like to stop here. Next up, we'll go out finally into the place. I was wondering if there's any more side missions people want to give me or not. That was probably the main ones. You shut up. You shut up.